DPM says OBAN will only be granted a license when an EIA is completed. A local parliamentarian answering the call to help the children's home. And residents turning out to the farmers market.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. The nation's second in command is stating the government's position on the handling of the $5.5 billion OBAN Energies development proposed for his constituency. The DPM's comments came while addressing the opening ceremony for the Sustainable Conference at the Grand Lucayan Resort this morning. Sabrina Brown has tonight's top story.
Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance and Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, the Honourable K. Peter Turnquest, says the industrial sector has been the lifeblood for Grand Bahama for years, and he believes it is a sustainable model for economic development. As concerns mount over the multi-billion-dollar OBAN Energies project, the DPM says modern technology has substantially reduced risk and other mitigation factors. He says the government strives to achieve balance between environmental community development and economic growth goals.
It is critically important for everyone to understand that the government of the Bahamas will not approve any project that is not able to demonstrate in a clear scientific way that it will be environmentally sound and sustainable. We appreciate the value of the environment from a touristic and a fisheries point of view.
The DPM notes that the government will be guided by environmental protection and mitigation protocols when making decisions regarding the OBAN development.
Don't be fooled by the noise. I hear people saying that the government of the Bahamas can't cancel this agreement, that we've signed as heads of agreement without any environmental study, and as a result, we're locked into this project. It's nonsense. The fact of the matter is we are a sovereign government. We have the ability to stop any project, anytime. The fact that we sign a heads of agreement does not mean that we are obligated to issue a license to operate. A heads of agreement is exactly that. It is an agreement. It says, you agree to do X, and if you do X, we agree to do Y. Any of the conditions in that heads of agreement that are not completed to our satisfaction renders the agreement null and void.
He says before OBAN Energies is granted a license to operate, an environmental impact assessment must be completed and must demonstrate to the government that moving forward is in the best interest of the public.
Once the company is finished with its assessment, it will be reviewed in conjunction with the BEST Commission. Once they have done their assessment, it will be reviewed by an independent environmental agency who is specialized in this industry outside of the country to make sure that whatever impact assessment is done, whatever environmental management program is set up, that it meets the most strict and stringent international standards.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Residents of the Southern District have been battling with environmental issues for years now that they allege are associated with the neighboring industrial park. That is why they say they have their fair share of concern when it comes to the OBAN Energies project proposed for East Grand Bahama. Shishina Rowe-Farquharson reports.
Residents in the Southern District say they know all too well what it is like to live around an oil refinery. And that is why they are urging residents in the East End community to do their research and find out all the facts before welcoming the $5.5 billion project. The controversy continues amidst the multi-billion-dollar project in East Grand Bahama, while OBAN Energies has committed to creating 600 direct jobs and hundreds of indirect jobs during construction. With the assurance of a direct injection in the East End economy, many are still left with more questions than answers surrounding this project. This is why residents in Pinder's Point believe this matter should be approached with caution.
Just yesterday, a gentleman commented to another person. I just happened over here then, and his comment was, well, you know, it's only a matter of time. Exactly what happened to Pinder's Point area will happen up in the East End. In other words, it looks rosy from day one, but we know the end result is going to be something totally different.
These residents believe that this project may come at a price.
When they are in, it's another story. We're helping residents right now who have eye problems. We have residents, we have a 14-year-old kid from down the road past the Island Market who has, I understand, is now stage 4 cancer. He's 14. We've got a kid who trapped bubbles or foam and put his fingers in his eyes, and he cannot see the blackboard in school.
If there's some caring bone in any of you leaders, this is the time that you step up and take care of the people and do what is right.
Now, they say once this project is finalized, it will impact residents in the East primarily. However, they also believe that in one way or the other, it will have some effect on Grand Bahama. Shashina Roll-Parkinson, ZNS Network News.
More Cubans intercepted at sea and handed over to immigration officials on Grand Bahama. On Tuesday evening, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Bluefin arrived at the Freeport harbor with 13 Cuban migrants on board. This group, all males, was picked up near Anguilla Key on Monday in what officials say appeared to be a rustic wooden boat. The migrants claim that they left Cuba on Saturday and were hoping to make it to Miami. The Cuban migrants were flown to Nassau yesterday to be housed at the detention center to await repatriation. This is the second group of Cuban men found at sea within the past week. On Saturday, the Coast Guard vessel William Flores handed over 13 Cuban migrants to Bahamian immigration officers. That group was processed and flown to the detention center on Monday of this week. A Dominican national charged before the court for possession of a fraudulent Bahamian visa. 41-year-old Onassis Rafael Estevez appeared in the Freeport Magistrate Court yesterday to answer to charge of possession of a fraudulent visa with intent to deceive an immigration officer. Reports say that Estevez, on March 26, while at the Lynden Pinland International Airport, presented a fraudulent Bahamian visa to immigration officers. In court, Estevez pled guilty and was ordered to pay a fine of $1,500 or serve 1 year behind bars and was ordered to be deported. In other news, an official funeral will be held tomorrow for former educator and cabinet minister Teresa Moxie Ingram. Described as a pioneer for women in frontline politics, Moxie Ingram served in the cabinet of former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, and held various positions. And recently, she served as chairman of the National Training Agency. Tonight, a local attorney at law is also reflecting on the legacy of Teresa Moxie Ingram. The Honorable Teresa Moxie Ingram being remembered as a fighter and one who stood up for the rights of all Bahamians, especially women and children. Attorney at law Constance McDonald went to high school with Moxie Ingram and says what she admired most is that Ingram never changed as a person despite her rise to frontline politics.
She was always down to earth, and even though, I was so proud of her because being one of the first female parliamentarians, and even being the minister, whenever she came to Grand Bahama, she was the same way, never changed, And when I heard that she had died, I was like, oh, because, she's was a female activist, and we really appreciated her stand on the gender issue and the fact that even with the other referendum, she is a woman who, she had the truth of her own convictions.
The pair have also worked together as a part of the Public Education Committee on Gender Equality referendum. Moxie Ingram was well respected for her courage and her passion for such causes. McDonough referring to her as a role model for other women and young girls in the country.
She's actually a role model for Bahamian women who stand for what they believe in, because a lot of women don't stand for what they believe in. They go along with the flow. But she was not that type of woman. She did what she felt was the right thing to do. And that's admirable in any person, you know, it's admirable. And me personally, you know, I feel encouraged by women like Teresa, even though I think I'm a little older than she was, because, you know, she was out there. She was out there in the forefront, just fighting for what she believed in, and I think that's all we can really do.
She says she believes that Moxie Ingram has left a legacy that will be remembered amongst the greats of this nation.
Just like how those women who way back then, with the women's suffrage movement, they stood for women's rights and stuff. She's one of them, and she'll be counted amongst those who stood up for women's rights.
Teresa Moxie Ingram died on Monday, March 19th. Her homegoing service will take place at 11 a.m. this Friday at St. Agnes Anglican Church in New Providence. Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues in just a moment.